Good evening, this is Pine Leaf Needles, and welcome to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO, and here at LOTRO Players. And tonight we have with us Andang,
Hey, everybody.
Raxwolf,
Hello, everybody.
and Draculetta.
Greetings, everyone.
Very well, now we'll go into our news for this week. And we'll start out with the biggest news of the week concerning what's upcoming in Update 13 this March, that the North Downs is going to be one of the zones that will be revamped. And I get the impression that some of you are excited about this.
Yeah, did they say that there's going to be more zones revamped, and this is the only one they've named?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry,
That's cool.
Pine Leaf. There's basically what he said. I got this out of the Take the Hobbits to Isengard event. I popped on, asked the question, and was kind of shocked when he actually answered it. He said there's going to be 3 zones, 2 of which have been asked for many times by players, and then another surprise one. And he said he spilled the beans on one of them because we're going to find out more info next week during the 20 questions. He said North Downs will be one of the ones that the players have been asking for. So what the other 2 is a mystery.
Now we've got to guess the other 2.
Right.
It's got to be Trollshaws, right?
I'm guessing Trollshaws has got to be one of them.
Trollshaws, North Downs, and they've already done the Lone Lands once, so probably not again.
You know, I don't think they'll be at this time. Anyone else have any better guess?
It has to be Trollshaws. If they do something else, then I'd be very surprised.
How about a Regian?
I guess that'd be alright.
It's not a bad zone as it is.
Yeah, I can't see it being ready for revamp, though. It could be that they're going to revamp the eastern part of Angmar.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. I like that idea.
I would like Angmar done, that's definitely for sure.
Now, one of the things about Angmar that's strange is that it's one of the few zones where an incident outside of the epic has become, for all intents and purposes, part of the epic. Because of the whole thing with Gunang.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to do it.
So we shall see.
So what do you think they're going to do to the North Downs? A lot of it is Fellowship right now. You think they'll change that?
Well, I hope they at least take it so that you don't have any more of these quests where you do 3 quests solo and then you can't finish the chain because it's a Fellowship quest. Yeah.
Right.
Start the Fellowship quest as Fellowship quest. Just an opinion.
It's also kind of a segmented zone because of the way that one side of it is such a different level than the other side. I wonder if they'll kind of bring it all together a little bit more, make it more of a single leveling experience.
It was originally supposed to follow up on the Lone Lands, but they raised the level of the Lone Lands during its revamp. And when they raised the level of the Lone Lands, that left North Downs as a bit of an orphan.
Lily Kate thinks that they're going to revamp the Shire.
I feel like that's something that you really don't want to touch, to be honest.
I have a hard time seeing that.
Yeah, what can you revamp there?
I think you could revamp quite a bit if you spend enough time on it, but I mean that's tough. I think that they wouldn't want to touch that. That's almost like the Rift. I don't think they're ever going to revamp the Shire, to be honest.
Yeah, they might do little touches here and there, but for example, the statue, which
that's
Lewin, I could see a revamp of Ered Lewin.
So the Shire is one of the zones that it constantly comes out on top when they do polls about which is the people's favorite zones and starting zones and things like that.
Right.
But I do think that it's very important to be focusing on revamping early areas in the game because that's your first impression to new players. And if that's not good, then or under par or something like that, then you have an issue of trying to keep your player base. And I think that they really should focus on these old areas that are at the beginning of the game, so that new players have a good place to go.
Right, because most people, I think, are confused about where the North Downs fits into the game.
Honestly, because of how well Evandim was revamped, it is, I think, a question for a lot of players how it works.
Lily Kate says Sapiens was saying a lot about North Brewery. I don't know what that. I know he's been talking about North Bree a lot in his items because he's talking about how there are these places there that some people don't know about, for example.
Yeah, I would be surprised if they do a North Breland update, but we'll see what happens.
We shall see. All right. Now, there was a community update this week, and ending. You know anything about that?
Basically, they told us a lot of what we already know, for the most part. But he did talk about taking the hobbits to Isengard and how Withy Wendell was next, which I think they had the worst run out of all of them. They had one of the longest runs. And one thing to
that's
note.
because they had a reset.
One thing to note is when you see the guy Sapiens is following and no one in front of that person, there's a good chance that they're not going to do too well.
Yeah,
Just like to point that out.
Yes, I think that half the raid left Sapiens behind.
Yeah, I tuned in on the first mishap, and the rest of the raid was behind for some reason, or like way out and ahead. And that's when he died the first time, and that was right when I tuned in. I was like, this is going to be good.
Now, actually, he didn't technically die. He had to do a reset.
I thought he died once, and then he had to do a reset.
No, he did not die. He got stuck.
Well, he got
/stuck.
Oh, he got
They
stuck.
definitely had a lot of issues for sure.
Yeah.
Because he did die on a different server.
Yeah, he died on a different server.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
right now,
everybody thought that was going to be a terrible time.
Yes. Right, I remember when they had the first server do it, and we thought that was such a great time, and then another server came in. Yeah, well, that time's not good. Then Crick Hollow came in, and oh well.
Yeah, apparently they're the server to beat right now.
Yeah. So, do you think anyone can do it in less than an hour?
I think it's possible. I don't know if it'll happen.
I think you need a little bit of luck too, because I know on the one death that I watched him have earlier, it was mostly because of lag, because he lagged off the edge of a bridge and then fell down and died. So that was just kind of bad luck.
Well, it's not completely bad luck because sometimes you have the people in the server acting in ways that will probably increase the chance of lag, and then if you take them along routes that give you a good chance of falling off. So I think if you are cautious near the real tricky points.
You almost need only a certain number of people around too. But you can't really limit that.
Yeah, unfortunately, when you start to have 150 people around, there's no way you're going to stop lag.
That's true. And one thing that he does talk about is a new promotion starting the Screenshot of the Week, where he didn't give too many details, but he did say that players could have a chance of winning 500 turbine points if they submit the Screenshot of the Week that they pick, which is a really good thing, I think.
All right. So now let's head into the developer snippets. We have, of course, had a few dev posts. For example, Jinja talked about Creepside getting another healing pass in Update 13. And he also said that Creepside's base stats and corruptions will be adjusted in Update 13.
That's the big one. Base stats have not been updated, I think, the entire time, or they've been updated very little. And so it's really important to be updating the base stats there.
And Sapien said that LOTRO will not have a booth at PAX East.
Which makes me sad. But with no expansion, I'm not surprised.
Yes, and I'm sure that's a call from the folks at Warner.
Maybe, maybe not. You never know, but
Well,
there's a chance of that.
yeah, I
I
know that
wonder,
the last few times that they did have a booth, they were just part of the Warner booth.
I wonder if they're going to have an Infinite Crisis booth.
I would. I mean, I'm expecting that to happen for sure. But
Seems like
that
this
does.
MOBA thing is just taking over.
Yeah, it does, which makes me sad.
Now, I guess I'm a little bit of a latecomer to this thing. Exactly what is Infinite Crisis?
It is basically League of Legends with DC Universe stuff on it, and that's a very basic explanation of what it is, but basically that's what it is.
Oh, you mean they? Oh, is this the secret license that they've been talking about all these years?
I don't think so. I think this was something that Warner Brothers wanted them to create, and so that's why they've been moving around their team quite a bit and all that stuff.
Ah.
Was for Infinite Crisis, and it's released now, isn't it? Or is it getting ready to be
No,
released?
I don't think it's out yet.
Okay, well they've been promoting it for a long time.
Yeah, it's their next big thing.
I think as
Definitely.
early summer is the release date on it.
Okay, but yeah, there hasn't been that much media coverage on it, especially recently. So I think that they're probably going to be promoting it pretty heavily at PAX East, and there'll be a lot of news about it.
All right. Well, since that's not within our zone, we will continue on to the Sapient Stream details. First off, we have patch 12.3. First off, it'll contain more balance fixes. I guess that's no huge surprise. They'll extend spar times to 10 minutes, which I remember someone asking for, so they wanted to explore that because some spars tend to. I think captain versus captain. I think I haven't seen you. All right. will, will
They
they get
last
it
a
done
while.
before the end of this? Yeah, what?
Yeah, they last a while.
They last a while, yes.
Yeah.
And it'll be smaller than on the previous two patches, so it's not going to be as big as 12.2 was. And the upcoming 20 questions, apparently it's going to be around 50 questions. We will see exactly how many when they come out. And J.W. Barry will be making a detailed post covering what pieces of group content will be scaled and which ones won't be. And we have here in parentheses that the Rift will definitely not be scaled, and Cardoom is unlikely to be scaled.
Not surprised, but it is interesting that they will be actually scaling some group content.
Well, we know that there will be scaling group content because they've been doing that for the last couple of years.
Right, but it's just interesting that that'll be coming with Update 13, I think, or maybe before.
Oh, I didn't see anything in there that was necessarily associated with Update 13.
Well, that's true, but the fact that it's in these 20 questions makes me think it might be, but maybe not.
Okay, we shall see. And legendary items may be adjusted in some fashion, though there are absolutely no details yet on in what fashion.
And Ethelros isn't even here to comment.
Yeah, I know what fashion he'd like it to be updated in. Yes, I think he would call it the rubbish bin, I think would be what they say in Wales.
I think so. You just throw the whole thing in the rubbish bin and start all over.
Yes. Now, speaking of Update 13, it will contain multiple zone revamps. We did mention this before when we were talking about the North Downs.
Yep.
And we already gave our speculations on what the other ones might be. So therefore, let's go to the store sales, and the free sample this week is plus 100% infamy renown gain for REN 898, one per account, and this is sent out on our first week after the conclusion of Fellowship of the Creeps.
Yes, they were waiting for us to finish.
They were waiting for us to finish. That's right. And there is also a special running from January 31st, February 2nd only.
That's
Dracula.
What's that about Dracula?
almost over. Whatever it is.
It ends tomorrow. The Slayer Deed boost are actually 50% off. but it was only January 31st through February 2nd.
Okay, that's what
So
that
if
was all about.
you want to get some Slayer Deed Boost, get in the store before tomorrow.
Very well. And also, I believe that the steed of the Snow Beast or whatever that was goes offline on the 2nd also.
Correct.
So therefore, if you want that steed, then this is your last chance to get it for a while. If you don't care about such steeds, then that's it. All right, we have 30% off on several things this week. And the first of these is skirmishes. But I already have all of them. And if you are a poor soul who's not in the skirmishes, there are also classic instances are also on sale. So these are various instances that aren't hooked up with. Here we go. The full list here is the Iobar's Peak, Seed of the Great Goblin, Webs of the Scuttledells, Bells of Dale, in other words, all those things. Flight of Lonely Mountain, Fires of Smog, Battle of Erebor, so that's the cluster pack for Rohan, and the cluster pack for Isengard is also on sale. What about the Inn of the Forsaken?
That should be under instances, shouldn't it?
I would think so.
Yeah, because I know it's
I
not on your
need
list.
that one too. I hope that's like
So-
the only thing I don't have. I need to
Yeah.
buy that still.
Right. I suspect that the Inn of the Forsaken and the Halls of Night will also be on sale, but of course those are separate items. So double check.
I will check on that real quick. Yep.
Very well.
Checking right now.
Very well. Also, the legendary level cap increase is also on sale, as are legendary item stat upgrades. And I'm not much into those, and I have a feeling Ethelros is even less into those than I am.
And yes, Halls of Night and Into the Forsaken are also 30% off in the sale currently.
All right.
Very well.
Yay!
And those are a couple of interesting instances, and I'm hoping that our group can have a chance to play in that, split into smaller groups and have a few runs of that, because that is a real nice instance into the Forsaken. You'll note that down, Andang, for a future episode?
Okay, Pine Leaf wants End of the Forsaken really bad enough to mention it on air on a completely different show. Okay, I got it written down, Pine Leaf.
Okay, there we go. So let's go to the site news. First off, an unexpected vidcast, episode 30. And this was a overview of Winterstock. And I think anything else interesting happening there, or is it just Winterstock?
What I really wanted to point out with this was the fact that they made it 30 episodes already. That's a huge accomplishment, and a big thanks to Unexpected Vidcast for allowing us to share their stuff on our site. That's just awesome.
Yes, and as they mentioned a few episodes back, I think with all the episodes they've had, they're starting to be a little expected now.
Yeah, I know he's still putting the call out there for bands and things that want to be featured on his vidcast. So if you want to contact Pashpo, if you've got a band or something that you'd like to see on the Unexpected Vidcast, I'm sure he'd take you up on it.
Very well. Then let's go to the Fellowship of the Creeps final show.
Aww.
Yes, the Fellowship of Creeps had episode 65, which was the final episode.
Say it ain't so, Pine Leaf.
I have to say that there is good news in there, though.
There is?
Yes! Rising up out of the ashes of Fellowship of the Creeps is another show called LOTRO Players Adventures.
Oh, that sounds pretty cool. What's it about, Pine Leaf?
In this case, it is Freepside, where we get to run instances such as Trouble in Tuckborough or Inn of the Forsaken.
Oh, I think you probably want those, but what do you want even more, Pine Leaf?
What do I want even more?
Yeah, being the type of person you are, what else are we going to be doing?
Well, soon we're going to be doing some skirmishes.
Ah, that's awesome. So you're saying that people can actually join us in game and do skirmishes with us and the mighty skirmish master Pineleaf?
It has been known to happen.
It has. In fact, earlier today we actually did that. So be sure to join us at 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday, where you can join us in our adventures as we do skirmishes and instances, going through all the group content in Classic LOTRO and hopefully making it to the end game and doing all the stuff there.
Yeah, I ran my first skirmish with Pineleaf today. It was pretty cool.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that. Congratulations.
Yep.
Well, you didn't know that he was in the skirmish with us?
I didn't realize it was his first one. But yeah, and there were also several people who joined us in game as well. So
it's usually good if you don't know the hunters there, actually.
Usually.
You got a good point there. Very well. We have also LOTRO video highlights, Mines of Moria on the MMO report. What's that about, Ending?
Well, this is actually a video from a long time ago, where way back near the release of Mines of Moria, a team from G4 actually went out to Turbine to basically get a 30-minute interview with the various devs over at Turbine. At least they condensed it into a 30-minute video. And it's a two-part video, and basically they covered one part one week, another part another week, and it features everything from being transformed into an orc to how they went about doing the lore to all sorts of different things that are really cool. Plus, you get to see behind the scenes at Turbine. So I highly recommend, if any of that sounded interesting, to check out this video because there's a lot of stuff that goes on in it, and I really enjoy it.
Very well.
There was some stuff in there that I didn't realize. I didn't know. I started playing after Moria dropped, and apparently one of the things they did was they made the mobs in Moria more intelligent than they were in the pre-Moria stuff. They I don't know exactly what they did. They didn't go into details. Being Turbine, they were kind of vague about it, but they talked about how they made the mobs react differently to some of your abilities than they had previously, made them work together a little bit more. So I thought that was kind of cool. And they also talked about how they were contacted by the Guinness World Record people because the word got out that they might have created the largest single underground MMO dungeon in Moria. Because it was the first time that had been done without everything being kind of zoned and instanced around. So going from one side of Moria to the other without going into a load screen, basically. So I thought that kind of stuff was kind of interesting. And I only made it through the first part, so there's probably even better stuff in the second part of the video.
All right, very well. And we also had an update from Lily Kate, as we had an unfortunate problem where Lily Kate doesn't have her sound equipment, so therefore we don't get any small LOTRO adventures. So we get little snippets here, and this week's snippets was a little conversation piece between Lizzie and Lily, where Lizzie asked, "What's that creature called, Mummy?" "That is a hill beast, Lizzie. I think they should be called monkey dwarves."
This should be a thing.
This should be a thing. We need to get Turbine to make monkey dwarves.
We need monkey dwarves in this game.
We need them.
You need them.
That should be the last thing you do in the epic battle system is have to beat the monkey dwarf.
The head monkey dwarf.
Okay. That's actually the last thing in. I figure if that's going to appear, the monkey dwarf should appear in the crystal in the glittering caves to go against Gimli.
Well, maybe. Dwarf against dwarf. It's a battle of the century. The monkey dwarfs against Gimli in the glittering caves.
Very well.
Gimli's lifelong arch enemy shows up as a monkey dwarf.
It's possible.
And now we have.
I think we have a show title now. Somewhere in there.
Yes. And we have the Forsaken Sun, Fyron Vast Deep. Another article by Lily Kate.
Yeah, and this was actually basically a story from Ales and Tales. And I don't know if you guys actually watched through this, but it is a really, really good story. I recommend everyone watch through this video. Um, I thought it was one of the best stories I've heard, to be honest, from LOTRO anyway. So I highly recommend everybody checks it out. It's really, really good. And she's actually had been meaning to post this for a long time now, and just now was able to do it. It was actually originally done in February 2013. So that just shows you how long ago that she's been sitting on this, and it's a really, really good job.
Yeah, and if you've heard
All
about
right,
this Ales and
very
Tales
well.
thing, you can go ahead and check out the video and see what it's all about, and that'll give you an idea of what this Ales and Tales thing is all about on Landerville.
Yes, it's a way to stay up very late on Monday nights. All right, Brax, what's your pick for the week?
Well, over at Tales of Arda, there's a very interesting page that Whiteberry put up, and it's got a whole bunch of quizzes, and it's really well done, like everything that's on her site. So you've heard about these different internet quizzes that go around on Facebook and everything else. Well, these are quizzes that we might be, as a community, might be more interested in. They're based on Lord of the Rings Online, Tolkien, and basic Lord of the Rings stuff. So, well, I wouldn't say basic. I mean just general Lord of the Rings stuff, I guess. Let's just say I took one of the Tolkien quizzes and got about a 37%. So I have some more reading to do. Apparently, I'm not an expert. Corey Olson will not be calling me anytime soon.
I can't even believe we let you on that show after getting a 37. It should be a requirement on LOTRO Players News and LOTRO Players Adventures that you have to have at least a 40% to be on the show.
Yeah, that's not even close to passing. So, but take a look at these quizzes. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, about 12 quizzes here, just for fun. But they're really well done. They're flash-based quizzes. They pop up and then they give you a score at the end, and then they take you through the answers too. So that if you're interested in what you missed and what the correct answer is, you can see that at the end.
All right, that's good to hear. Now, donations. What's not good to hear is we did not receive any donations, but we would love your support. And if you'd like to help LOTRO Players, simply go to the donation page where you can help support the podcast on LOTRO Players and also help support the site. We have $5 and $10 mentions where you can donate and get a mention on one or all of our active podcasts for an episode depending on the amount. For $5, you can get a mention on the podcast of your choice. For $10 or more, you can get a mention on all of our current active podcasts. And as for feedback, we did not receive any reviews, but if you'd like to give a review, then you could go over to iTunes and provide us with one. Now, what about our featured comments? Brax, could you please read Fredalas's comment?
Yeah, this came in under the story about the North Downs getting a revamp, which I think Ethel Rose posted out there. Was that him or Drac? One of the others.
That was me.
Okay, Drac. Yeah. So I think revising the Trollshaws into a more straightforward 30 to 40 region would have been a better business decision. It contains some of the game's most iconic locations, but is generally not a wise first purchase for new players compared to Evendom. However, if Turbine could split the North Downs into 2 regions, it could give away the first part for free and turn the second half into a comprehensive level 30 to 40 region on its own. Anyone who had previously purchased the North Downs quest pack could retain access to the second half. Unfortunately, I do not expect the revisions to be this extensive. I'm excited to see what's coming, though.
Very well, thank you. And Solo left a comment on LOTRO Players News episode 30. Oh my goodness, Andang! I laughed so hard when you did your Tom Bombadil voice. I think you should do this every episode.
Hey do, Mary do!
Very well, that is our obligatory Hey do, Mary do.
You only get one.
Oh well. What about Goldberry?
I don't do Goldberry.
You don't do Goldberry. Oh
No.
well. All right. For emails this week, our only email this week comes from Stuart. Hello. Hope to make use of this of the hope you make use of the donation. I have been meaning to send you an email to say great work you guys do across the various websites. Love the YouTube channels as well. I wondered whether you take suggestions for future podcasts. I am slightly selfish in these requests, but I am sure that they are topics as players we have all thought about. 1. I am in the market for a new something to play LOTRO on. Not sure whether that will be a PC or laptop. Could you schedule some time to discuss what hardware components and their specs to enjoy LOTRO or high-end settings? And 2. Ettins. Advice for creeps to combat the various creep classes. I have both RK4 Hunt I have both RK4 Hunter and Champ, and unless I am in a group, I am just Warg
Fodder.
fodder. So really enjoy PvP, but can be frustrating when you can't progress, cause you just not tough enough. Keep up the good work, and perhaps I will hear your thoughts soon. Regards. P.S. Which server are you on, and in what kin? Think I might be able to join the fun. Very well.
There's a
We
lot of
are on.
questions in there.
Yep, let's
Yes.
go in order. So, about the specs for computers, well, I can run LOTRO on highest settings, and I have an Asus gaming laptop, a G75 series is what I would recommend, and that's a fairly older series, so if you just want to run LOTRO and not other high-end games, then this would be alright, I think. And right now that's about 1,300 on Best Buy. I just looked it up, which is probably on the expensive side for PCs that could run LOTRO on highest settings if you don't want anything beyond that.
Very well. Anyone have any other advice on the matter?
Yeah, I can kind of throw my specs out there. I built my PC, so I know what's in it. I built it a couple years ago, so I was actually thinking of upgrading it pretty soon. But it's actually plenty beefy to run LOTRO at pretty high settings. I have a AMD processor instead of an Intel. They're usually cheaper if you're building. It's a 6-core, 2.4 gigahertz Phenom 2, so it's a little bit older processor model, about 2 generations behind. I run it with 8 gig of RAM. I have a now this is something that people don't think about, but I use an SSD. I have a 240 gigabyte SSD that I run LOTRO off of, and mostly what that does is it helps me with load times. LOTRO can be a very slow loading game between screens and when you're first booting up and stuff, and the SSD helps a lot for that. I also have two 1 terabyte drives, but those are mostly for data storage. My graphic card, which is probably the most important thing for high-end graphic settings, is an AMD Radeon HD 5750. It's got a gigabyte of video RAM on it, so pretty decent card. Again, it's maybe a couple years old now. If you have the luxury of upgrading that, I would do it, but plenty good enough. I've actually gotten some pretty good compliments on my YouTube channel for some of my class videos where people say, I didn't know LOTRO could look that good. Have they updated everything? Why are the graphics so good on there? So it must be okay.
All right. Now, in my case, I have a system that's about almost 3 years old now. That's a doghouse system that I got back when they were really pushing it on a casual stroll to Mordor.
Finally, if you want to stay on this website, you have to have a doghouse system. But I just write about skirmishes. Finally, if you want to stay on this website, you have to have a. Use our code on checkout, finally. Use the code on checkout.
Well, something like that.
No, honestly though, they never did that. But it is a good deal, and then, I don't know if CSTM still has that code going, but you might want to comment on there and ask, and I bet Golden Star would be glad to let people know.
Right, and I am using my SSD is only 80 gig, and I had to pull LOTRO off of my SSD when Helm's Deep was released because it was just too tight in there. So
Oh
I'm
yeah.
back on my hard drive, which I know is much lower in its load times. So that's a bit of a pain. And my display, I'm having trouble finding my display information, so I guess I'm not going to be able to share that with you. Anyone else wish to share their stuff?
Yeah, I'm running a AMD Phenom quad core at 2 gigahertz. I got 8 gigs of RAM. The video card I'm running is a NVIDIA GeForce GTS 450. I have it overclocked, and it's got 2 gigs of RAM on it, and I'm running everything at ultra high specs. And about the only time I get any lag is in like a big skirmish raid or something. It will lag just a little bit every now and again.
That's a nice card.
Right.
But I think the key to your card is make sure it's going to be DirectX 11, which most cards you can buy nowadays are.
Yep.
But if you're gonna if your budget if you can't afford a newer card, make sure any older card you get does do DirectX 11 because it makes all the difference.
Right. Now I'm pretty sure that my card is not the latest type because I think I intentionally bought a generation or two behind when I bought it because my last card before that basically blew up for being on the bleeding edge. So therefore, I was a bit conservative on the current card that I have simply for that, and that was about 2 years ago. But I have only quad core, 8 gigabyte, and Drac, you said you were a couple generations behind. You have 6 cores.
No, I have a quad core.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, mine's 6 cores.
Oh, yours is 6 cores. Okay, yes, yours is 6 cores. So therefore, and what's the most recent? Where are they coming in now? Or are they coming in huge numbers of cores or something?
No, they're not really increasing the cores for desktops very much. They're just updating the processors now and the way they work.
Updating, making them speedier and faster. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And besides, I don't think LOTRO does much where more cores is going to help you all that much.
Right.
Very well. With that done, we can get into our contact information. You can email us at lotroplayers.mymillearth@gmail.com. And you can follow us on Twitter, LOTROPlayers @LOTROPlayers, Andang @PVMP_Andang, Braxwolf @Braxwolf, Draculetta @Draculetta_72, Etheros @Etheros, Mystery @MysteryXOX, and that's with an I, not a Y, and Pineleaf @Pineleaf Needles.
Hey, Pineleaf.
Yeah?
I don't want to, you're on a roll and everything, but he did have a couple more questions in that letter.
Oh, sorry about that.
But we shall not answer them because Pineleaf has a doghouse system, man.
Very well. What is your next question?
I think
All right,
PVMP_Andang should answer number 2.
Yeah, he did ask for advice for Freeps to combat the various creep classes.
Just
really
show
press
up, I thought.
any button, press any button at all. You don't have to do anything really until possibly update 13. We'll see what happens there. At a rank 4 hunter, you probably do need to do... The hunters are very squishy, so you need to get in the right kind of group, to be honest. And if you get in a group with a lot of healers, a lot of tanks, and that know what they're doing, then you can easily be able to do well as a hunter. They'll tell you exactly where to stand and do all that stuff a really good leader will. So it's just about getting in the right kind of group, I would say.
I have one piece of advice.
Okay.
Don't use RK as a abbreviation for rank, please.
Oh, that's
Because it does look like a runekeeper, yeah.
Yes.
All right, and as far as for starting new shows, let's see. He wanted to have us talk about those 2 things. So we kind of answered the questions on here, but we did start a new show called LOTRO Players Adventures, which we talked about earlier in the show, and we'll probably talk about near the end. And he also asks what server we're on, so why don't we go around the horn here. And Pineleaf, what server and what kin are you in? Or all of them?
Very well. My primary server is Winfola, where I'm a member of the House of Blackrock. Second most used server is Arkenstone, where I'm a member of the Academy.
Why don't you say what these kins do, that way in case he's interested in like a certain kind of thing?
All right,
That,
my kins tend to be casual kins. For example, the Academy, as the name implies, is good for newer players because we tend to have a large number of new players in. People listening to the LOTRO Academy tend to join that one since it was founded by Brannick. And the House of Blackrock is also pretty much of a casual kinship. My third one on Landravol, which is my third server, they're a member of the Council of the Secret Fire. And that seems to be a rather casual one too. I'm not into any specialized kins. I tend to be in casual kins. I also play some on Gladden and on Laurelin, though I'm not a member of any kinships on those servers.
All right, Brax.
Yeah, my main tunes are on Winfola, and I'm a member of the Maladrim Defenders kinship. That is a mostly casual social kinship that does some skirmishing in some instances together when we have time. Help each other out with crafting and just generally have a good time joking around in the evening. Landraville, I'm a member of the Lonely Mountain Band kinship, which is just this enormous beast of an awesome kinship that in fact they got an award for being the best kinship, I think, in an MMO this past year.
The Dragon Slayer.
The Dragon Slayer Award, that's right. In fact, they organize Winterstock and Weatherstock, the big kind of RP music events that happen on the
kind of server. Ales and Tales.
Right. So they do a whole lot of stuff. That's a much bigger kinship than the one that I'm in on my mains. So I just pop in and say hi there a lot, but I'm not super involved in that one. And I guess the last one, I'm also in the Academy kinship on Arkenstone. And as Pineleaf described, that was the LOTRO Academy kinship that Rolf and Mystery talked me into joining.
All right.
Well.
Drac?
Right. My main server is Menlador, where I'm a member and I actually founded a kin called Carpathian Mist. Basically, it's just a casual kin. It's a couple friends that are playing the game on Arkenstone. I'm going to be like everybody else. I'm a member of the Academy, which, as everybody said, it's a pretty good casual learning kin for new players. We tend to help new players out a lot, and we run a lot of instances and skirmishes and stuff and help people out. And on Landraville, I too am a member of the Council of the Secret Fire.
Awesome. All right, and myself, I'm a member of Landraville. Yes, a member of the server. And that's because it is the only server that I'm on anymore, and it, in my opinion, it's definitely the best server that I've sampled at the time I was sampling it. I did create a character on every server at one point just to try to see what I wanted to join into. And Landraville, no question, when I got in there and got in debris to see a concert going on, and it was actually a fairly rare event because there was this big concert going on. It wasn't anything near the size of Weatherstock, obviously, but it was a lot of fun. And then I decided to go ahead and come over to here. So I'm definitely a part of the Lonely Mountain Band, which everyone should be a part of if they like to do role-playing events and like to go to them. And also, if you just want to see how Weatherstock is organized, join the Lonely Mountain Band. It's pretty amazing, the amount of work that goes into that, and I'm just always blown away, or Asolocate, because it's just really, really amazing. So I recommend that everyone goes and checks that out if you're interested into roleplay or that kind of thing.
Very well. Yeah. Any other questions?
I don't think
No,
so. I think that's
that was
that
it.
whole email finally.
All right, that takes care of the entire email. Very well, then you can join us live for LOTRO Players Adventures, which goes live every Saturday at 5 p.m. server time, and LOTRO Players News, which goes live every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. server time, and that is U.S. Eastern Time. You can also join us by going to lotroplayers.com/live, and be sure to join us on the YouTube chat. And good night to everyone, and remember to skirmish responsibly.